Hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back here to RaceSpot TV and the iRacing Esports Network, and welcome back to the Radical Esports Cup. This is round number 5 of this season, coming to you tonight from Daytona International Speedway. My name is Ron Mullins. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Jake Sperry. Ramiro Augustin Cisneros is our producer for tonight's broadcast. Well, Jake, to keep this season of Radical action up and rolling, we head off to Daytona with a nice little twist in the midst. Running into the night here at Daytona, that is going to throw a curveball these drivers' way.
Well, welcome to the prelude before the iRacing 24 hours of Daytona. Some Radical racing as effectively your support series for tonight's action. And what a circuit this often tends to be. The 31 degrees of oval banking, 18 degrees on the tri-oval, the new limits that have been imposed into iRacing on track limit. And also, when you talk about strong strengths of field, it's a 4,200 strength of field today with the field splitting 3 times. Not often that you get to say that with the Radical E Cup, but it is a strong idea that a lot of drivers want to chance their arm tonight here on 1801 and give themselves the chance to make it happen tonight on West International Speedway Boulevard.
Yeah, and this is just part of an amazing calendar of races that we have here in Season 1 of 2026. In this official series, a reminder to those tuning into this series for the very first time, this is not a private or league event. This is a top split action from the Radical Esports Cup. If you've got a license that will allow you to race in this series, you can show up. And if you make it a top split, you could very well end up here on RaceSpot TV. But we've already had brilliant races at Sebring, Alton Park, Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, and there in Mexico City just 1 week ago. Now here at Daytona, heading off to Long Beach for the next round of the season, but then we have tracks like Rudskogen, Brands Hatch, the Charlotte Roval, Circuit of the Americas, Bathurst, and Monza to bring an end to this season with a calendar chock full of some very intriguing racetracks. Don't usually see a lot of these tracks end up being a part of the calendar here in the Radicals, but we'll be getting to see some very good racing throughout. Taking a look at your championship standings, we do have 2 points tallies to take a look at. Here's the first. It's the official series points where Christoph Lipp is at the top of the poll at the moment. We were thinking that's going to be the battle with himself and James Berry. Now, reminder, we do have the drop rounds coming into effect a little bit later on. For now, though, Christoph Lipp sits atop of the poll. Havard Gullikson, your champion in Season 1 of 2025, is slotted in P2. Peter Eveny, George Gonzaga, Heinz Braun, James Berry, Kettle Larson, Sebastian Lipp, Andre Castro, your past reigning 2-time champion, and Bruno Vitorino rounding out your top 10. Taking a look, though, at our own RaceSpot TV standings here with the Radicals, it's Christoph Lipp at the top of that as well. 86 points is his tally. Crushing might, fantastic results, some consistency along with having 2 wins to this point in the championship. James Berry, your winner at Barcelona, slotted in second. Christoph Lipp's brother Sebastian in third, with Havard Gullikson, Andre Castro, Peter Eveny, Kettle Larson, Heinz Braun, Ryan Odo, and Christopher Yanakis completing your top 10 in our RaceSpot TV standings. But now, with the formalities taken care of, we can get into the final moments of this qualifying session. Somewhat warm conditions, saying so. It is Florida. It's held in the spring in sim time, so we're not going to be seeing the worst track temps in the world. So these racers will have some comfort to kind of take into their back pocket heading into this qualifying session.
Yeah, so this is going to be key. They've got 8 minutes to set their qualifying lap times, 2 laps to do so, and there is Havard Gullikson then looking to really make a push and say, I've got to make it happen. The Lipp brothers are not here tonight, so this is going to be a huge free kick for anyone who can put their times down on the board, and currently it's the number 1 driver, Alfredo Mallo, who's got 8,400 I rating, who's got the best time, a 43.4, only for Gullikson is good enough to be middle of the pack. We got a number of quick drivers up there. James Barry is up into 3rd position, just ahead of Jorge Gonzaga with that 2nd attempt. But for the moment, drivers like Jarek Dunkovic in 2nd position, and drivers who are going very, very quick like Vamirovic, and also the likes then of Chris Wett inside that top 10. Rafa Blanco then in the number 11 car, representing Uruguay, then is trying to make it happen. You can see the flag there on the wingtips, then trying to go forward, making that big charge, 270 kilometers an hour over to the line, and a 42.9. Look at that, 2nd row.
Yeah, and a very good time for a past champion in these radicals as well. Been nearly a year since he was crowned champion in season 2 of 2025, but always a quick racer. We'll have to see what he can do as we've switched off into the new calendar year and have hit the ground running with the same competitive action that we usually expect season in and season out. For now, though, let's take a look at the starting grid for tonight with Alfredo Malo starting from the pole position. Jarrett Dunkovich, your reigning 2025 Radical World Finals AM winner, is slotted to join him on the front row. James Barry, multi-time past champion, is in third. Rafa Blanco joining him on road number 2. George Gonzaga and Jonas Schneider will start this race in P6. Alexander Vermeersch will start in P7 alongside Chris Wetz. Heinz Braun will start in 9th with Claudio Castamillana running at your top 10. Adrian Rossitang will start this race in P11. Paki Caruso in P12, looking right behind in lucky spot. P13 will be Havard Gullikson starting this race in P13. Robert Woodward in 14th. Nescar Akapolis in P15. Juan Perez in 16th, with Gordon Haug completing your top 17. Your 17 drivers class in this race. Be interesting to see what Havard can do a little bit farther in the back. A driver that we've gotten the opportunity to cover many moons before here in these radicals on Race Spot. Will be interesting what he does from P13.
Well, I'll tell you what will be interesting, standing start, because those up on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, we normally talk rolling start at Daytona, they are going to all pivot to the apron line then as they get going. So watch out for wheel spin. The 18 degrees of banking up on the top side, that's going to be a huge drop down the hill. It'll be like watching some velodrome cycling.
Yeah, it's always odd seeing a standing start here on the high banks of Daytona. Last time I got the opportunity to cover a standing start was in a Formula 3 series, and we nearly had 5 drivers spin before the race even got up and rolling. But I think we've got everybody lined up, everybody revving the absolute snot out of the engines in these race cars. Want to get off to a dream start, try and manage the wheel spin. That's always tricky enough when you're running on a flat start-finish straightaway in a start-finish area. Don't have that here at Daytona. These racers have a real big test on their hands, with a few more drivers left to line up. We're about to get a start here, and there it is. The green flag flies. The drivers are on their way, and we're racing under the lights here at Daytona. That's a dream start for Alfredo Malo. Feeling a little bit of pressure from Jarrett Dunkovich on the outsides. Look at James Barry sticking it 3 wide as they head their way into one. Contact made it. Off goes Dunkovich.
It's as simple as that. Turn 1 is the first place to be aggressive. You're trying to fight on the brakes. Jarrett Dunkovich, wrong place, wrong time. 3 wide at turn 1 doesn't always work. Into the international horseshoe they all go, but it is what we see so often with drivers who want to make claims early. You want to break draft around this circuit, so you try and be a hero at turn 1 when you can make the moves. Over to the West Horseshoe.
And as they head their way into another heavy braking zone, drivers still trying to make hay while the sun is shining here at Daytona, trying to get some moves done. James Barry did that to perfection. He leads over Alfredo Malo, over George Gonzaga. Taking a look at Castamillana, as that is a big sideways snap right off the gun. Always talk about the trickiness trying to get these SR10s off the line. The wheel spin will bite and bite hard, as that's a replay of Dunkovich. 3 into 1 just does not work.
Yeah, so that just tells you how difficult start here is. Rafa Blanco then is in 4th position and has somewhat got away with it. It's 4 clear then at the front as they sit. Barry leads Malo, Gonzaga, then Blanco, and then the group behind's trying to work hard to get back. Wet, Schneider, Veremejevic there in 6th, 7th position. Blanco really trying to work. Insert your name here. Well, at the moment, you want to get to P3, so insert a P3 here if you can. They are already working at where do you want to go, and look at the difference there. 277 plays 267, and this is the posturing that you will see around this circuit. Draft so critical, big lunge down to the inside, and suddenly inert are looking 1 and 2. James Barry then and Jorge Gonzaga in great positions there. Now 1 and 2. Malo not happy to sit back for it though through the S's. Will now look at the international horseshoe, chuck it back up the inside, and that next group now are going to get a chance to try and stay with, being led by Heinz Braun.
Yeah, sometimes in these radical races, you see packs begin to form and drivers break away from everybody else. Not really seeing that, though, here in this race. I think the strong draft is most certainly the reason why that is the case. We'll have to see if these top 4 can work together as pseudo teammates. Certainly James Barry and Gonzaga will look together as actual teammates. But everybody else, I think, is going to try and play ball with their competitors just a little bit. You know, whenever you think of Daytona, of course, you think of the Daytona 500, and you think of the style of plate racing, where you got to choose when to make your friends and your enemies. Even though we're running on the road course, these draft-heavy SR10s mean that you can take some of those drafting principles from a NASCAR-style plate race and apply them a little bit here on the road course. So we'll have to see how these racers decide to play ball. Alfredo Malo trying to get a move done on George Gonzaga side by side down the super stretch into the Le Mans chicane. That's going to be Alfredo Malo jumping up into that top spot. George Gonzaga now going to have company with his own teammate James Berry in that number 3 car, a 4-time champion here in Radical Esports Cup competition. He said flat out, hey, 2026, new year, new me. I am gunning for the crown. Right now, though, he's just trying to hold on to P3 for dear life, with Rafa Blanco giving him quite the nice push as they head their way into the tri-oval with side-by-side racing in front.
Look at the run that you get from 4/5 of a second back. You can be alongside the car in front as you come across the stripe. Keep that in mind when lap 15 comes along. Into the party comes Heinz Braun. He's stuck on the outside. Barry can't get the run on Alfredo Malo, so Jorge Gonzaga at the front. Defensive posture being taken, and the more they start defending like this, as that's too deep into the corner from Jorge. Always when you outbrake yourself, you're going to leave the opportunity on the exit. So Malo now back to the point, but they brought Chris Wetz as well on this group. Then it's Gullikson, who is now in 7th position. He's up now 6 spots trying to chase with Schneider. Veramejevic, Rostang is in there. Casamatihana as well. Oh, spinner! And that is going to be the likes then of one going around. Tough to see for Alexander Veramejevic there, who ends up pointing the wrong way at the West Horseshoe.
Yeah, unfortunate moment. The horseshoes can always strike and strike in a bad way. Having to worry about slamming on the brakes in these SR10s after coming off of the shock that is the kink on the infield can be tough. If there's one thing this Radical SR10 car does not like to do, it's braking while turning. And unfortunately there, Veremiec just getting caught out. Unfortunate moment for him in the number 17 machine. He's at the back. One driver who has sided his way through the field is Håvard Gullikson. He's up in a P7 now in the number 2 car. Fantastic stuff from the past champion.
Oh, as you just say that, though, Håvard Gullikson has gone around at the Le Mans chicane, so he's caught those anti-cut curbs, which are massive on the exit, and if you're going to have a tangle with that, it's trouble. 3 wide at the front as the move now comes. Heinz Braun going to go to the front then and make the progress to say, I'm leader, but they are going to swarm around. This is a car that only weighs about 750 kilograms out there. It is as light can be. In fact, to correct myself, 725 kilograms with a 2.3 litre turbocharged Ford EcoBoost engine with 425 brake horsepower. There is a reason why these cars in occasion go quicker than some as they go through. This was Paki Caruso who went straight across the chicane trying to avoid, and he got a tag there, I think, from Woodward, and there was Gullikson. Then another spin, I think that was Gordon Hauger who got involved with it, as we got Adrian Rostang, the Luxembourgian driver, down in the pits. Look at that.
Yeah, I believe it was actually Rostang that clobbered into the side. Nothing that he could have done as Håvard Gullikson was stopped on the middle of the racetrack coming out of the Le Mans chicane. The ultimate commentator's jinx right as I was singing the praises of Gullikson. Contact being made, bringing the both of them down in pit lane. It was early drama that we didn't see, but drama as we get into a groove here in this race. These cars do take a couple laps to get fully up to snuff, fully up to temperature, whether it be the tires, whether it be the brakes, or whether it be these racers just trying to settle into a groove. Can take a little while, but when you do, you are golden. Heinz Braun is golden for now. He's going to be leading them heading out of the chicane, and now $5 Monopoly currency. He's not even in the top 5 come time for the braking zone of 1.
Well, he'll be looking for his moat. Look at that in slow-mo there. Gullikson nowhere to go. Just about avoided by Jonas Schneider, who had to avoid all of it. The one driver who didn't and had the same fate would have been Adrian Rostang then, who would have been going by. But back to the front. Oh, below the apron. You can do it sometimes. Little cheeky. Jorge Gonzaga is saying, I'm going to pass any which way I like. Under the apron, making a pass. Now, that can be allowed to happen, but the inert iRacing driver making that progress and move, and I would look around and say it's not bull here at Daytona, but that's one of those passes where you find the space, you go for it. Braun side by side now with Malo, but I would say this is placement. Where do you want to be? Normally you say I want to be second, go on the last lap. In this group of 6, I'd like to be 4th.
Yeah, I think if there's one thing that is an absolute guarantee, you don't want to be leading the race, especially on the white flag lap. Coming out of that Le Mans chicane, you're going to be in for a world of hurt if you do it. Speaking of, that's Adrian Rosatang clipped. Nothing that he could have done there. Very lucky that he avoided any contact with more cars as he was spinning around the racetrack. That is a code brown moment for all parties involved. But getting back to this battle up at the front, do want to raise the drivers battling for P2, at least for now. They probably will start to battle for some higher spots as George Gonzaga is going to be chopped liver as they head their way down the super stretch. But Heinz Braun, always an aggressive racer in these SR10s. Alfredo Malo, quick driver in his own regard too. So this is basically what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object.
Yeah, and so as they tiptoe their way through the Le Mans chicane, which is part of the naming rights deal between Le Mans and Daytona, that's why there's a Daytona chicane on Mulsanne, now you get a real sense of what is making it happen. And look, that's going right up to the top there from Gonzaga. Doesn't want to give anybody much of a chance. Malo's going to drop down deep right to the apron line. And even though you've got a pusher there to help you bump drafting along, it's 3 wide into the opening corner. Inside's always going to favor Malo, who just pushes his way through on the inside. Not forceful, not aggressively, but that was just, I'm going to jostle and get an elbow out. It's almost like what you see cyclists do in a sprint, and that's very much what you saw there from Malo. I'll get an elbow out, and I'll just make sure I've got enough room to take my corner naturally. That's why he leads, and the best drivers with the number 1 on the car often like to lead from the front of the field.
Yeah, it's like a merge out there on the road. Most of the time, you do have to be a little bit cautious, but sometimes you do have to apply a little bit of force, a little bit of anger. Just say, okay, I got this spot. You can slot in right behind me. That's what you got to do out here on this racetrack. These SR10s, I always compare it to being a game of chess that these racers have to do. And on a draft-heavy racetrack like that, no truer statement could be said to describe the style of racing we're going to have here all throughout this race. We are just barely a third of the way through it, folks. Hope you're enjoying the action. If you do happen to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on any of the action here on RaceSpot TV every single Friday, 2100 GMT, 5 p.m. Eastern time, actually 4 p.m. Eastern, down over the daylight savings time. Looking at side-by-side battling, that's James Berry and Heinz Braun, drivers who duked it out before Berry jumps his way into third. This is an alien sight in these radical official races. The top 6 covered by 1.6 seconds. Usually you see a bit of a breakaway, but not the case here today.
Well, I've just seen 2 cars completely miss the chicane. You can see them in red. Dennis Kiriakopoulos and Gordon Hauger both missing the chicane. One missed it on entry, the other one missed it by running too wide. This is a look from Kiriakopoulos' perspective. You can see missed brake behind by Hauger, and there's the miss through the second part. Now, because of those big sausage curbs on the inside and the tyre bundles that are there, you don't want to tag them in any way, shape or form. They are race wreckers if you run into those, and that will catch so many drivers out who are used to, over the many previous runnings of the iRacing Daytona 24, of having a flat chicane to go through where if you get it wrong, you just skitter away through a little bit of grass. The updates to the track here at Daytona have been huge because suddenly you can't just run into it. There's a penalty, a huge penalty for getting it wrong at the chicane.
Yeah, those tire bundles, not saying that they're cute and cuddly in real life, but in this sim, the tire bundles are basically made out of tungsten. One hit and you are going to be done. These SR10s are also very aero sensitive, so any sort of small little aerodynamic tweaks, even if you don't rip a wheel off, which will probably happen if you do hit those walls at speed, but even if you scrape them a little bit and it maybe causes a side pod to get a little bit askew, maybe one of the fenders to get pulled out a little bit from the wheel, that is going to spell disaster for you here at Daytona. The straight line speed will get ruined and you're going to drop down like really like an elevator with the cable cut. It is going to go down quick.
Yeah, we take a look at it now, running through this section. I think this is huge, and I'll tell you what else is huge, as I've just noticed on the timing tower. Jared Dunkovic, who, he's actually just had an issue. He's been turned around. There's a big smash up then. 1, 2, 3 cars to just been caught up. Kiriakopoulos has had a hit, so too Gordon Hauger.
Commentator Jinx strikes once again. Alfredo Malo trying to strike 3 wide as they head their way to the line. Easily blowing by James Berry now, trying to get a move done on George Gonzaga as Gonzaga tries to get a move done on Heinz Braun. They now, it's taken easy somewhat. They're still 2x2 as they head their way out of 1 through this quick little fling chicane into the first horseshoe. Heinz Braun now your race leader. George Gonzaga in P2. Alfredo Malo running in third as we take a look at that drama involving Jared Dunkovich. It's a curb. It's the whack of the curb, and nothing the drivers behind could really do. Oh, no.
It's a massive hit for Jarrett there in the Den competition group. Radical, it is something that you can't really do. You've got to hit the curb square if you get it wrong. And when you put air in a car like this and say, look, have all that grip to come back, that power to weight ratio, you just get the wheels that spin up so quickly. And there's not much you can do to wrestle it back once you have a hit like that. So he was up from dead last after the spin, back into 7th position. And then suddenly his day's written off with Kiriakopoulos as well, both finding that a retirement is the only thing they've got in the back of the pocket today. So I would now play focus, and I'd actually wonder here, if you're 5th and 6th in this group, if you're Chris Wetz, if you're Rafa Blanco, how much are you banking for the final 3 or 4 laps of this race to start making this move? If you don't show your hand now, you're looking at showing your hand later. I think they've done a great job of keeping what their pace is and how they're going to make their moves as disguised as possible. That's key. The drivers at the front, they've been playing hot potato, basically, with the lead of this race, and I think that's not going to help them. Whoa, that's cheeky again from Jorge Gonzaga, right down underneath, and giving a little tag there to Heinz Braun to say, move over. And that he didn't have to because he was off the racing surface.
Oh, and look at James Berry trying to stick it down the inside of Heinz Braun as well. Those two make a little bit of contact as Malo with the sideways snap out of 1. Gonzaga going to have an opportunity to fight back. That could have ended in tears on so many different occasions, but now it's going to be Braun fighting back on Gonzaga. I like the term you brought up there. There's a lot of truth said and just. It has been a bit of a hot potato race. Everybody is wanting to run in the podium spots. Nobody is holding on to the race lead, both down to the draft. I think I'm starting to see some racers maybe taking easy when they are in there. Braun with the dive into the west horseshoe. I wasn't expecting that. I don't think either of us were. I don't even think Heinz Braun really meant to go for that move, but he went for it anyways, and he took the lead.
Well, it was a close shave, and it was full beans trying to get that move from Heinz Braun. No doubt about it. He is looking really, really punchy in this race. He fought back in the opening couple of laps to go from what was 5th position up to 2nd, and now going up through. He started this race in 9th, and he's been giving himself the opportunity. Malo will take the pass back in towards the Le Mans chicane, and they are posturing for placement at this stage. I would be looking around at everyone and thinking, okay, when's the best time to strike? When's the best time to make my move? And in a race like this, with just how strong the draft is, with how much they are gaining on the straight, with that streamlined work as we watch Rafa Blanco down on the bottom, this is the equivalent of saying, as everybody goes, look, it's about where, not when. Do not sit back and say nothing. And again, riding that apron line, Jorge Gonzaga is making that statement. I want the race lead, and I'll defend it from there. Everybody's got to work out. James Berry has a massive hit into the back of Heinz Braun going into turn 1. Everyone's got to work out not just where you want to be, but how you want to do it.
I can't even imagine the nerves for these racers. We're terrified in the broadcast booth. I can't even imagine how these racers are behind the wheel. It has been some froggy stuff ever since a drop of the green flag. They nearly fanned out 4 wide when they descended their way off the banking. Alfredo Malo should be counting his lucky stars. The fact he's still holding on to the race lead. I think the best way I can sum up the strategy that these racers have to take into these final few laps, as we are now into the final third of this race here today, you got to consider the momentum. It's like a surfer. You got to ride the wave more than the wave is riding you. You got to make sure that you find the time, find the momentum, and find the right person to maybe push you to your ultimate destiny. I know Chris Wetz at the moment, he's got nobody behind him, so as much as he's got the most amount of drifts, he's got the least amount of help, literally nobody behind him there to try and assist him and maybe push him a little bit. These SR10s can do a little bit of bump drafting. We've seen it already. It is a dangerous game, though, especially here on the high banks. If somebody works it out well, they're going to turn their cars into a rocket ship. If not, you're going to see an SR10 get turned into confetti.
Well, if you do hit wrong, you do have the threat of basically seeing a flipper robot in BattleBots. That's sort of the scenario of what happens when it goes wrong. But these drivers realize they've built 10 seconds over that next group of Cloudy Casa Mitjana, the likes of Jonas Schneider, the likes of Paki Caruso, who's had a good run up. But look at the level as they go side by side. They had to split either side of Alfredo Malo through the tri-oval there. And basically, they both went round the outside, got it done. Braun ran wide at turn 1. This will open up turn 3 now as a chance to make it happen. But these cars and what they have to do, they know that this is a car where you're just holding on every single corner to it. It's light, it's punchy. It's one of these cars where, you know, you look at this circuit on paper, it looks easy on paper. Good thing this race isn't run on paper.
Yeah, I don't think that looked too great on the broadcast either if this race was run on paper. It looked like a bit of an old broadcast, just entirely in black and white. I'm preferring this on iRacing. I think we're having an absolutely amazing race, treated to an awesome show. These racers are bringing the thunder out here at Daytona. We brought on board with James Berry. He's running in 4th. I'm not sure if he'll be able to get a move done into the Le Mans chicane, but he's going to have a fantastic front row seat of the battling that's going to go on. Heinz Braun, Alfredo Malo nearly dipping below the double yellow line to try and get the spot as George Gonzaga got shuffled down into 3rd. There's Malo up in that top spot, going for a move into the Le Mans chicane. I think we're starting to see these racers begin to test the waters about where to make the move. Of course, when, you got to figure out the timing. The timing is everything. It's like the stock market. You got to know when to buy, when to sell, but you got to know where and when you do it as well. So I think seeing Alfredo Malo go for the move, he was wondering whether or not he would be able to hold on to the lead as they headed their way into the tri-oval. Clearly not, as he got shuffled down to 4th before they come across the stripe. George Gonzaga, Heinz Braun, and James Berry basically treating him as if Malo was standing still.
Right, here's something we haven't pointed out yet, and that's going to be critical, and it's 2 things. 1, teammates. If you've got the likes of Jorge Gonzaga and James Berry as teammates, more often than not, as Braun trouble! There's the hit, and the teammates run into each other. Rule 1 of sim racing. Barry's around, Gonzaga's around. I was just about to point out that teammates have the advantage. Well, scratch that, they're gone. And now you're starting to look. Heinz Braun's one mistake has completely opened up this group. It's Braun and Malo, and they've got about 1.1 over Chris Wetz, who's going to have to hold replay here. So there's the wide move, and Malo just too eager to push through the corner. The wrong bump, you talked about it, that's how quickly it goes.
Yeah, in the blink of an eye, the inert team getting wiped out of this. There's a save from Gonzaga, having to turn his front tires into rectangles to keep that number 5 car going in a straight line. But just like that 6-car battle has now been cut down to size, cut down to 4. And even then, it has broken up a little bit. Heinz Braun and Alfredo Malo have nearly 1.5 seconds between themselves and Chris Wetz now holding on to the final podium spot. You know, it's unfortunate to see that drama, but I'll be honest, Jake, I can't necessarily say it's a surprise. These racers have been battling hard for so long. No discredit to these racers, because some of the drivers that you're seeing here in this race are some of the best iRacers, point blank period. We've gotten to cover many of them throughout the years, and many of them running well in other events too. I've seen James Berry win championships in Formula Ford racing as well. So very quick drivers, but just based off the law of averages with how hard they were fighting, something was going to break sooner rather than later.
Yes, and now what it means at 1.4, 1.3 seconds, these two suddenly here of Malo and of Braun, they've got to work together now. They can't afford to battle because it's their pace up against Wetz and Blanco. They're the ones who are going to have to really push here to make it happen. And speaking of things that are happening, Casamitana then down 2 spots, loses out to Caruso and Schneider then on the main run forward. So this is what you're looking at. You can see gaps right and left of what they've got to chase. A second and a half, you've got a chance of closing that down, and they are probably looking at, okay, well, if it's going to take us 2 laps to close it down, which from here probably will do if they've got the draft, they will only have 1 lap, Wetz and Blanco, to just fire it, and a massive wiggle there from Heinz Braun trying to stamp on the power is never going to be helpful. That is a tow rope for Chris Wetz.
Yeah, and if there's more moments like this, we could see this 2-2 fight once again develop into a 4-car scrap. I think it's only a matter of time before Alfredo Malo and Heinz Braun begin to squabble up. You know, Alfredo Malo, quick racer in all sorts of different machinery. We were talking about before we got this broadcast up and rolling. I've gotten to cover him here in these Radical SR10s. Also, I've gotten to see him dominate in races in the old Formula Renault 3.5 cars here on iRacing. Super quick racer. Heinz Braun super quick in these SR10s as well. He has been closing to a race win. He's been quick for many moons, but has always been a bit inconsistent. Now, however, I think he knows how to win these races, and Alfredo Malo playing ball a little bit. It looks like there may have been a crack at the throttle for that number 1 car.
If I was car number 4, do you know what I would have done? I'd have pretty much matched the bluff of Alfredo Malo. If you want to be in the race lead, by all means go and have it. Braun had it at the stripe by 0.07 of a second on that last lap. So if you're looking around at it, Alfredo Malo is playing this game. He's a master, is Alfredo, of underpowered cars and tactical races. He was in the Skip Barber 2K World Cup, racing Philippe Laubert, Arian de Freitas, Enzo Cantor, the best of the best of thinking style races. He knows how to think his way to a victory. I think if you look at Heinz Braun here, I think he's jumped the gun too early and he's hoping Malo tries and overtakes. If I'm Alfredo Malo, I just sit back. I allow everyone else back in. It's not my prerogative to overtake.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Jake, I am absolutely with you. I think Heinz Braun may have gotten played a bit there. Now Alfredo Malo running right behind. I'm basically gonna see him kind of play with Heinz Braun like a cat plays with a mouse before he eats it. Now, looking at the move, he goes for it down the inside into the Le Mans chicane. They're gonna be coming to the white flag, and it's going to be the white flag lap with Heinz Braun in front. Now, the big lift is gonna be from Alfredo Malo, and he's gonna probably be lifting. If he is running in second as they head their way out the infield for the final time, you know that he's not going to go for the move off into the bus stop, because that would not work out well. Let's see as they head their way out of Oval 3 and 4 into the tri-oval for the second to last time here in this race. Heinz Braun pulls that to get the move done. Malo gonna slip back in tow. I think this is all coming up the well of Alfredo Malo. We've still got a lap left to go, but I feel like the picture is starting to fill in.
Well, here's where the picture gets interesting. If Alfredo Malo at any point lifts, Chris Wetz and Rafa Blanco have a half chance of making this one work. If you look at the way that this race has gone, well, that's not going to help if Chris Wetz runs wide at turn 3. So that's going to bring Blanco to the inside, and suddenly they're marking each other out of this. You never want to go side by side through turn 5. Never works out. So Wetz takes control. I think now this is a case of, does Malo want to make the overtake here, coming up onto the oval or into the Le Mans chicane, or is he going to wait for that drag race over to the line? I know where I'd be right now with a scenario like this. If I'm Alfredo Malo, I am waiting till after this chicane.
Yeah, I think I would rather eat a cyanide pill than go for a move heading off into the Le Mans chicane. I think Alfredo Malo agrees with that. He's going to be all in the rearview mirror, though, of Heinz Braun. He's going to try and rattle the cage of the number 4 car a little bit. You can see the momentum that he has, but he is not going for the move. Oh, Braun lifting. He's going to force Alfredo Malo's hand. This is intriguing as they head their way through the braking zone into the Le Mans chicane for the final time. Braun has got to capitalize on this exit, make sure he has a good run, avoid a slow down. The gap is about 0.3 of a second. Make that a quarter, make that 0.2. Braun closing it in, closing up that gap. He's had the draft, though. Interesting to see that he's not really pursuing it. I think he's saving it for the right time. Now Malo's going to start to weave as they head their way to the checkered flag. Who's going to win this race? Braun pulls out to the outside. That's going to be Heinz Braun grabbing the win here at Daytona.
That is what we call out-thinking the best driver on iRacing in this race. Alfredo thought he had it easy. Heinz Braun was overtaking left, right, up, down, slant ways. He could have used the great glass elevator to get it done, but the way he just lifted off, said, I know what the power of the slipstream is. I'll go for it. Winning margin 600ths, and he did so. Out-thinking Alfredo Malo. Brilliant stuff from the driver who started 9th on the grid.
At the end of 15 laps and nearly 26 whole minutes of flat-out racing action, it was decided by 0.61 of a second. Incredible stuff here in round number 5 of the Radical Esports Cup. Didn't even mention the fight right to the line with Rafa Blanco and Chris Wett to decide your podium. We'll touch on that in just a few moments here. For now, though, here are your race results, and it's Heinz Braun grabbing the W. First time, really, that I have seen a photo finish end that way. Heinz Braun really outsmarting Alfredo Malo, and props are due to the driver of the number 4 car. Alfredo Malo comes home, and I'm not sure if he's going to be upset about a P2. You know, I think he'll still take a podium at the end of the day. Rafa Blanco rounds out your podium in 3rd with Chris Wett slotted in 4th. James Berry in P5. George Gonzaga going to walk away with 6th. That inert duo going to be very disappointed at how things went. Certainly James Berry, who has championship aspirations in mind. Paki Caruso is going to walk away with P7. Bloody Castamiatana finishes this race in P8. Jonas Snyder will finish in 9th with Robert Woodward rounding out your top 10. Looking at page number 2, it's Alexander Veramich in P11, Wanty Perez in P12, Gordon Haug in 13th, Dennis Kyriakopoulos in 14th place, Adrian Rossatang in P15, Jared Dunkovic in 16th, and unfortunate for Hovard Gullikson, who finishes this race in 17th place after drama in the early stages of this race, taking him out of contention rather early. But we have a race winner. Heinz Braun looking to have a chat with us, and Jake, I will let you do the honors of having a chat with a man who had to earn that W.
He absolutely did. Heinz, this is a big win for you, starting from 9th on the grid, a race where you have to go and make moves, a car that absolutely loves attacking the banking around here. Just talk us through that drive up, because once you manage to get onto the front 4 at the end of the opening lap, you were just throwing moves left, right, and center. It was a shootout with the OK Corral for you.
Yeah, let's say it's a draft fest on Daytona, and I was saying, okay, it's a little bit, let's say, not really interesting until way to the last lap, and just try to be not first. It went on a while. Then I really made a small mistake into the horseshoe. I think the first horseshoe, the right corner. Did a little bit wide braking, and that was maybe enough that the others came a little bit distracted and made a mistake. And so then let's say it was a deal between me and Alfredo. So in the end, I would say he has more pace than me, but I really tried to switch places all the time with him, but last time, of course, he did not choose to go by. So I made the move and tried to get him by. So don't know if he was, let's say, expecting this or surprised by it. But in the end, I need to get a podium, a first win in this season. So I tried my best, and it was a lot of fun.
A big race, especially when you consider that this split 3 times, so this is going to be one of the strongest fields all season. How critical was that move then on the final lap? We know that you lifted off, allowed him the chance to go forward, and then to attack off the exit. In a field like this, on a race like this, how important is it for you to be the thinking driver, thinking more than anyone else?
Yeah, I think it's always very important to use your head and try to, as said, it's a draft fest, and you don't have to be the best driver. You just need to be also on these tracks really a smart one. But as said, I like the trying, and from my personal point of view, we can fight until the last corner every time, and I could have still do something wrong out of the chicane, out of Le Mans, when I would have to attack too early. So in the end, I think Alfredo had no chance, and it would have been very interesting if we both did this maybe the last couple of 3 corners, so that the others came by, and then it would be much more a lottery of 4 of us, and maybe with a crash. So that was my thought to make it only between us.
Very quickly, it's chalk and cheese next week, as after Daytona, it is to the West Coast and to Long Beach, a circuit that couldn't be more different for you. How do you think your luck will fare there over in California?
I personally really like these short, or these narrow tracks where you really end it when you hit the wall, but sometimes this is also the problem. So I guess some other guys will be much better in hitting the apex and breaking points. coming through. But yeah, I hope I will get a good result there and maybe can get on a top 5. It really depends how the others perform. In this point, I just don't want to crash anybody and yeah, get through the race clean.
There's a name in lights for Heinz Braun, who picked up the victory then here today. Ron, who have you found?
And I've found George Gonzaga. I want to have a chat with a man who had a really good shot to win, but some drama befalling a little bit late. George, welcome into the booth. It's still an all right result for you, but probably wishing for a little bit more. How was it out there here at Daytona under the lights?
Yeah, it is. It's one of those days, right, where it could go anywhere. Yeah, it was unfortunate. I saw Heinz made a mistake, so I was being cautious. Maybe I slowed down too much, and also I got distracted because I saw Dennis ahead with no headlights. So there was risk all over. So I might have slowed down a bit too much, and I think Malo didn't expect that. Then there was front contact. You know, it is what it is. It's Daytona. It's mind games, strategy, trying to not be in front, I guess. And to be fair, any one of the guys on 6th places, the win could have gone anywhere. But yeah, congrats to Heinz. He did a great job, him, Malo, and the racing until then, it was really competitive and really good. It was unfortunate, but it is what it is. Still a good result.
Yeah, and it was a wild race from our perspective here in the broadcast booth. I'm sure it was for you behind the wheel. I want to ask you about that, though. Now, kind of one of the more notorious draft-heavy races in the Radical Esports Cup has always been the races at Spa. Would you say that this race was maybe more or less wild than Spa? Because, I mean, this was pretty insane either way.
Yeah, because in Spa you can still get away, right? You still have the remaining of the session, the track. While this is pretty much just flat out the whole time. You have like four or five corners, so it's really hard to get away. So yeah, this is the champion of the draft, to be honest. This is where fool the mind games really work. Not Monza, not Spa, it's definitely Daytona. So it's interesting to have a 10-minute schedule from time to time, but yeah, it's a bit of a sweet and sour taste kind of thing, you know. Some like it, some don't, but it's still fun.
Yeah, certainly fun from my perspective here in the booth. I think I can speak for all of us here on the show. Do want to ask you, though, about the next round of the championship, switching at the coast here in the States, heading off to Long Beach for round number 6. That is pretty much as far removed from this track as you can get, both geographically and otherwise. So what are your thoughts heading to that track? That's probably could provide a bit of whiplash here for the series.
Well, Long Beach is really interesting. I think we had the first time a few seasons ago, back in 25. It was really interesting. It's a survival race, so it's very different. You really need to rely on skill to keep the car clean, and on pace as well. You need to get the car on the limit, always be pushing, so you don't lose too much. There's still a few straights, so there's still some overtaking opportunities, but you know, it's that roundabout. It's gonna be fun because all it takes is a small contact in there and just creates a massive gridlock. And obviously, as officials, you know, not everyone is accustomed. Well, although the top split is really interesting, we all know each other. But you know, it's try to avoid the eager people on the roundabout when chaos reigns in. But it's a really fun track, and really looking forward to Long Beach. Actually, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you back out there on the racetrack for that race in 1 week's time. George, thank you for joining us in the booth. Well done, the P6, and we'll see you at Long Beach in 1 week's time.
Right. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
And that right there was George Gonzaga, our P6 finisher here at the end of this race. And Jake, what a wild way to spend a Friday evening. Final thoughts before we wrap things up.
This was a race where you had to outthink the driver in front of you. It's about placing yourself out of trouble, buying your ticket to the end of a race, and then saying, how is this going to go from that point onward? We have seen what the new Daytona can bring when it rears its head And what makes life so difficult for drivers, you can't just luck your way through a chicane and make 50 mistakes. You now have a chicane that is going to fight back. And these drivers know that that's their prelude to iRacing's Daytona 24 hours, which will be coming tomorrow. And in that sense, I think the best of the best will look at this place and say, this is going to be the biggest Nightmare 24 they have had in January in a very long time.
And of course, you'll be able to catch iRacing's 2026 Daytona 24 here on the iRacing Esports Network in just about 24 hours time. And hope you get to tune in for the next race at Long Beach on January the 23rd, 2100 GMT, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we hope to see you all there in 1 week's time when the series rocks up to Long Beach. The Daytona draft is always like getting a train ticket, but having no idea where that train is going to end up. For Heinz Braun, it was a ticket into victory lane. He was able to get the W in dramatic fashion, and that is nearly going to send us off into the end of the first half of this season already. Man, time flies when you're having fun. But here for Daytona, for round number 5 of the Radical Esports Cup here in Season 1 of 2026, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Mullins, Jake Sperry joining me in the commentary booth, and Ramiro Augustine Cisneros working on the cameras and the graphics and the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action here on RaceBot TV tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not-too-distant future.